Hello, friends. My name's Cynthia Walker. I'm the director at the Brickstore Museum here in Kennebunk. And I want to thank you for joining us today, taking a little bit of a test trip, which is this unique program that we've called Museum Mindful Break, but it's actually based on a training that the staff of the Brickstore Museum undertook now several years ago that was called Museum Sage. And it's run by this wonderful museum educator. She created this program in the Midwest, several years ago, that was basically meant to use museum collections to answer important questions about your life. And that really struck a chord with me. I met her at a conference of the New England Museum Association several years ago. And if anybody knows my focuses on history, you'll know that I am always pushing for basically imbuing more emotion and more personal experience into history and why it's important and how we can all relate to each other when we know that, human emotions are something that we all share. And understanding emotion and common experiences leads to empathy for other people, even if they're much different than you. So when I learned about this Museum Sage program, that's why Laurie came all the way here to Maine and helped us train in this program. So thanks to her, this is not thanks to the museum, we now have these tools in our own toolbox to be able to, as I said, imbue more meaning and emotion into artifacts, programs, exhibitions, and everything in between. Because if there is one thing that we all share, it is certainly emotion and how we feel about certain things. As we say often, environments and facts can fade. You may not remember, going to various different events, but you would remember how you felt. If you were very sad or happy or angry, you certainly remember those times in your life. So anytime that we can link emotion to history, the better it is for all of us. So again, I want to thank everyone for joining us for this unique program, because it's going to be a little bit different than other Brickstore Museum programs. We obviously are very invested in presenting local history, art, and culture, but this program specifically is going to be asking you questions and asking you to do a lot of the work of asking questions of yourself. So this is more of a mindfulness practice instead of a history lesson. So I hope this is just another level of learning that you can bring with you the next time you visit the Brickstore Museum, or certainly any museum, that you can bring with you and practice when you're visiting those museums, because it's certainly a tool that has helped me several times. So as we move forward, I just want to make a note that some of the questions that some of us will bring might be emotional, might be sad, might make you angry, hopefully would make you happy. But the more and more that we can talk openly about how we're feeling, the better it will be for all of us. So especially in this strange world in which we find all of ourselves in 2020, whether it be the pandemic or the protesting and the equity movements going on, or even something within your own household or your own life that have nothing to do with either of those things. Let's take some time, and I'll try to be a little bit more mindful of others. And as we get through this program, try to take some of that pressure off your shoulders, and hopefully through this program you'll be able to think a little more out of the box about where you can find answers to your questions. So let's get started. First, let's take several just deep breaths in. I'm sorry, I'm closing my eyes. You can close your eyes if you want. Just find a comfortable seat. As you can maybe tell, I am sitting on my floor because that's where I'm most comfortable, but you're welcome to choose any seat. Take a drink, have a snack, and just inhale and exhale very slowly. And as you do that, just imagine the kind of waves rolling off of you, taking that stress away that we all feel during the day, especially now. You might feel the pressure that's right up in this area, kind of below your neck, near your lungs and everything. Pay special attention to letting that stress go. You can even put your hand here on your chest if you want. Sometimes that's comforting. And breathe in and out a couple times. So as you're doing that, I'll just tell you a little bit about what's going to happen. If we were doing this in person in a gallery, our small group would be walking around the gallery, taking our breaths in and out, just kind of getting a sense of the smells in the air, the temperature, the sights and sounds around you. And as you're sitting here, think of a question or a problem that you have, or a question that you need answered. It could be, you know, a small question, could be a deep question, could be playful, serious, doesn't matter. Whatever you want to bring to the table is just fine. It just got to be meaningful to you. And if you can't think of the perfect question, don't worry about that. Just pick a topic, a vague topic, even if you can't pinpoint a question. And keep in mind that the pictures that I'm going to show you of 3 museum pieces might just answer another question entirely that you haven't come up with yet. So again, if we were in person, we'd be walking around and we'd do this whole kind of method of counting, and you'd stop in front of an object and describe whatever object you ended up in front of. But today we're going to look at 3 pictures that I have chosen at random of our 70,000 piece collection here at the Brickstore Museum. And again, totally random. I did not do anything aside from click 3 pictures that I found first upon getting to our network of photos that we have for each artifact. So if we can just pause for a minute and take 3 deep breaths. And close your eyes for a moment. And think of your question as you have your eyes closed. All right, I've just switched the picture, so open your eyes and look at your screen. And just look at this piece. You don't have to speak out. I'll be quiet for a moment. Just look at the piece and kind of describe it to yourself in your head. So some of the things that you might look at are the size, or you could imagine the size of this, probably fit in the palm of your hand. Its shape, the carvings that are on the top, how deep the carvings are or not deep at all. The colors that you can see in this tortoise shell. The era this is probably from, probably turn of the 20th century. The shapes created on the detailing. You can see there are the kind of flowy versions of leaves at the top, but then near the teeth of the comb, there are triangular carvings. So there's both kind of rigid as well as florals patterns. Think about the subject matter that this piece might speak to. So certainly what comes to my mind anyway is women's history, but also manufacturing and merchandising, certainly at the turn of the 20th century. What feelings does this give to you? Did you have a feeling when you opened your eyes and you saw this image? What feelings came to you first? What associations or memories does this piece call up? Something about your past get drawn up by looking at this. So right now, if you could think of that personal question that you were asking yourself, and if you want to type it in the comments, as well as your observations, you're welcome to do that. But if you want to keep it to yourself, please do that as well. What insight does this piece offer to you about that question? After thinking about the shapes and the size and what it relates to, even in your past. Some answers are most certainly in the past. We all know, that very common saying of, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. So often we forget to look in our own pasts to help our answers today. So if you're feeling a negative reaction to this piece, remember to try to reframe it. You don't want to go away with, negative reactions are valid. You just don't want to focus on that. So what pieces of this bring out some new ideas? And what perhaps old beliefs need to pass by to help you further your question or answer your question? Maybe when this program is done, if you haven't found an answer quite to this piece, try researching the history of these tortoiseshell hair combs. It might tell you something. Might bring out something. Might bring out an answer to your question. If people are kind of stuck and not sure what they should be thinking at this point, I'll do an example and share my own if that works for everyone. So my question, and this has been my question for many years, is, should I move somewhere else? I never planned to stay in the town of Kennebunk for so long as I have. Maybe somewhere else in southern Maine. So that's always my question. And you know, part of me, and I will fess up to being a millennial, part of me wonders if it's because of pressure, outside pressure, societal pressure to, you know, purchase an actual house, which is very hard to do in this market. So when I look at this comb, I think to myself, I guess I've been focusing, and maybe you have as well, on the 3 broken teeth of this comb. And what I appreciate about it, and this is going to get really, really metaphorical, but this is what came to me when I was looking at it. So the floral kind of design at the top with that structural pattern in the middle, it just reminded me of what a house is. So, you know, you have your flowers around the outside of your house, and that structural area reminds me of a house. But then those 3 broken teeth at the bottom kind of suggest to me that, you know, maybe those plans have to be broken. Does it really matter to me to have a house? Apartment is wonderful too. You know, what are the things that are stopping me from moving ahead with those plans? So that brings up a whole nother set of questions. What can I do to advance those plans or not? What do those 3 teeth mean? What do the missing teeth mean? So, you know, maybe I just change my plan altogether. Anyway, that's my example. But as we're moving towards the end of this piece, maybe think of one thing that you can do this week or this month, no pressure, to put you on the path to solving your problem or your question. What's one thing? And I'll say a lot of people have taken to journaling or writing down their reactions to pieces. So sometimes that's helpful too in your own personal growth and decision making. So if you want to write all of your feelings down, that's certainly helpful. All right, so if anyone's ready, we're going to move on to the next image. So if we want to recenter ourselves, just take a couple deep breaths in and out and close your eyes. Clear all of the imagery away and just concentrate on your question. It could be a new question or it could be the same question if you didn't get the answer you were looking for out of this comb. So just a couple breaths in and out, relaxing. And now open your eyes. Here we have a very small wooden box. It reads J&P Coats, Best 6 Cord, Spool Cotton and Crochet, White, Black, and Colors. And then in the bottom of the box, you can see these kind of tightly wound spools of all these different color threads. There's a little bit of a mess at the bottom of the box where they've kind of come unwound a bit. So just, again, imagine the size of this piece. Again, it'll fit in the palm of your hand. What colors do you see? What era do you think this is from, just based off of even the font in the writing? What subject matters might this have to do with? What feelings do you get when you look at it? How does it make you feel? What associations or memories does this call up when you look at this? What insight does this piece give you about your question or your problem? I see a lot of different colors. I see those spools that should be in a row but are not. I see mention of a lot of different colors. So it's advertised as such. So a lot of different choices. I see that mess at the bottom of the box and then the kind of neatly wound spools all over it. So what does that mean? You know, to use a different example, if you had asked, should I color my hair? As a lighter question, perhaps this would have given you some answers, some direct answers. So again, as you look at this, what is this helping you answer? And what small step can you take today or this week to start on the path to that solution? If you're not finding an answer, don't worry. I would just start describing the box to yourself and pay attention to very small details and see where that leads you. It might take a few days even to think about what you saw and how it relates to you, and that's okay. All right, so our last picture is coming up as we head into the half-hour mark here. So if you could just close your eyes one more time and take a deep breath in and out to clear the imagery, and just get ready with your last question, or your you can keep the same question once again if you haven't had it answered yet. And now open your eyes. I will say that I'm happy I chose this last one. Makes for a good ending. So once again, we'll practice. Just take a look. I will stop talking for a moment and just take a look and think what you think of it. So describe your piece. Might use categories like its size, which this is pretty big, the colors that you see, the shapes and the subjects in the painting, what era this calls to. What feeling did you get when you opened your eyes and you saw this image? Just as a little backup information to this piece, this is called A Trip to the Brick Store. It was painted by a woman named Tina Ambrose in the early 2000s. So it's a recent donation to the museum. You can see, for those of you who live in Kennebunk, you might guess that this is an image of Fletcher Street, looking up towards the Brickstore Museum. That's our orange / rust colored building. That's the archives in the center of this picture. So let's keep looking at the photo, or excuse me, the photo of the painting. You can see those beautiful trees shading the street. You can see that really nice looking sidewalk that I would love to be walking up. All those little flowers along, and the grass kind of growing long. You can see the homes that people are living in. That really neat picket fence, white picket fence on the left side there. in the shade on the street. So what insight does this piece give you about your question? Maybe the leaves going from dark at the top to light in the center means something to you. Or maybe the road leading somewhere means something, or leading away from somewhere. Or maybe those tiny flowers, the details of something that means something to you. Maybe that is helpful in your quest for a solution. Or even just the colors. Maybe the subject doesn't matter, just the colors in this photo. What does that tell you about your own solutions? As you look at this photo, artwork, keep calling it a photo, artwork, if nothing's coming to you now, just hold it in your mind's eye and think back on it once this program ends, and think to yourself about what it might mean. So as we close out, I'll say again that I invite anybody who has an interest in seeing these three pieces in person to continue kind of this searching for your answer. When the museum reopens on July 1st, I certainly welcome you to visit, and staff members would be more than happy to bring you behind the scenes so you can take a look at these pieces. We just ask that you let us know ahead of time. So the easiest way to do that is info@brickstarmuseum.org. That's our email address. And just ask when's a good time to come, and we'd be happy to respond. So you can kind of continue your own searching for a solution. We're also happy to go through this exercise with you at the museum. And now that you kind of have an idea of what it is that we do with the Museum Sage program, we'll be trying to practice this in person when we can have in-person events once more, a little more often than we used to, just because of how important both mindfulness is, taking some of the stress away of our lives nowadays, as well as just sharing experiences with one another. So keep an eye out for that. And again, if I pass by it really quickly, the museum's really looking forward to reopening on Wednesday, July 1st. And we look forward to seeing everybody back in person when you are comfortable. And other than that, I just want to thank everybody for joining us on this really unique program which is really highlighting how artifacts don't just hold historical facts and knowledge, but they also hold very deep meanings for each of us that could be very different. And that's okay. It's just the more we are able to highlight those meanings and those connections, the better off we will all be. So I really sincerely hope that you enjoyed the program tonight, and we will see you soon at the museum.